I think I figured it out. After all, I lived it at one point. I was never Travis Hunter, and I never would have let someone say the same things that Travis has let Leanna Lene say. But by the same token, I did have my mom tell me not to marry someone. Uh, I married her. In my defense, I can say that my mom was not really going to approve of anybody, and this was no secret, nor did she really deny this. She said I would probably not, but I wouldn't try to be unfair. However, also, you see, my mom did try, and there were certain things that my mom was able to tell me, and certain things she could not, only because of the lack of vocabulary, not the lack of concern. My mom, as I've stated before, was never treacherous, and she was never neglectful. I've never had a mom like that, and I've been fortunate in that regard, which is what breaks my heart when I see that you guys have had to deal with some outright neglectful moms. Moms that just outright didn't tell you, just left vital information out of your hands. Travis Hunter comes from a family of women, apparently. Not that he doesn't know his dad, but that Travis Hunter doesn't, he didn't live with him. Travis Hunter's dad probably was thinking, well, my son's athletically talented, and so therefore he's not stuck with the bottom of the barrel broads. He'll have options. So if he's with someone, then, well, he was able to choose her out of many. Because in Travis's father's day, that would have been the case. You have that sort of athletic talent, women that don't keep up with the sport in which you excel would still line up to be with you just because everybody else knows who you are. So his dad, while being one of the breeders, uh, could seriously and honestly just underestimate uh, Travis's opposition. But the women in Travis's family know. They know Leanna Lene. They know what she said. They know her plans. I don't know Leanna Lene's brother. I assume that he probably is in on whatever it is, only because of what some things that Travis has told us. But I'm also aware of the possibility of that just being a conjecture on my part, and in real life, Leanna Lene's brother possibly just um, being a normal brother to her and being on good terms with Travis. I also understand that we start at a particular age and we tell just about anybody about the birds and the bees. But it's at a much younger age that girls and not boys are taught about the GAMEs. And so therefore, I see the importance. You see, I know the importance because in my own case, my mom, like I said, was honest and forthcoming with me as much as the vocabulary of that time would allow. My mother wanted to be fair and not blame innocent women for anything of which they were innocent, and she also did not want to leave me a perfect victim to women that had no scruples and bad goals in life, goals at other men's expenses all the time. My mom tried. She did what she could. Now, also, as happens amongst those of us who grow up Huxtable, like I said, not Cosby. but Huxtable. What happens in a case like that is that um, you may wind up with a mom like my mom who is not going to approve of anybody really except another Huxtable type lady. Somebody who grew up Jack and Jill, NMA conventions in the summer. That's when all the black doctors get together at some nice hotel in some city. They all meet up. Most of them went to Meharry Med School and they know each other. And that's cool. So the doctor's kids and the doctor's spouses, most of the spouses being wives, are there. And this is how middle class professional black families have kept in touch with each other across distance and generations. My mother was never going to approve of any woman that was not like that. And the kicker is that I could pick up on the fact that that's exactly the kind of woman that was not going to approve of me or guys who grew up like me without some major uh, stereotypical gigabosity to compensate for it. Because you see, that is the same as being short, as far as these girls were concerned. So it's something for which you must compensate. It's something for which you must make up. You can't just come in that way and that's okay and that's fine. And then, it's not like what they taught back in those days. You can be yourself and just be your best self and you can get the best results. It wasn't like that. It was actually quite different. Nobody explained that to us. Nobody sat us down and said, hey, listen, these broads in a few years, by the time you guys are really old enough to be picked or not picked, are going to be completely against any man that's not an outright stereotypical nigga. You're not jumping up and down like some wild porch monkey stereotype. You're not acting a damn fool. You got no tattoos and you have no criminal record. You can't do it. You can't win with the girls that grew up around the corner from you. And my mother did not know that this was the case. And I didn't have the vocabulary to prove to her that that's what it was, at least where I lived. I didn't know how bad this was on a nationwide scale. But nationwide, it was the issue. And if you really, if you factor in everything, to a certain extent, there were ladies that could outgrow that type of thinking. But to a certain extent, it did get worse if you were on any extreme side of the spectrum, too. Unless, again, of course, there was something to compensate for it. My mom helped as much as she could. And I still underestimated how correct she was about whom I married at one point, because of how incorrect she was in what she advised me to do, which was to play the field and gain experience. And that told me there, okay, that's what women want. But by the time this really became a topic, I was Muslim and playing the field is not an option for us. Not playing the field and getting away with it. God will punish us. As a Muslim man, he will punish us, man or woman, and sooner and more severely than he would punish one of you who aren't if you were to play the field. Because we have agreed to the responsibility to not do it. And we have stated that we know better. So we'll catch it worse. So I couldn't take that advice. And since her disapproval was coupled with the notion that I could do something like that, then I went ahead and married anyway, thinking I was doing the right thing when in fact I was doing the right thing with the wrong person. And as I stated before, I didn't know that she was the wrong one because everyone else was far worse. And I don't even say this to disparage the one whom I married, but we weren't right for each other, and she'll tell you that. If I had the help that I had from a mother who meant well, then you can see how helpless and hopeless it is when you get these guys like PJ Washington and these guys like Travis Hunter, who, even if dads are in their lives, don't even claim to be experts on women. They don't claim that. And they may even make the mistake of trusting the mothers and the mothers' relatives to just tell the truth about what the games are going to be. But I realize even more now than I did when I first recorded. And I said that we need to reach these cats when they're young, or else they're going to be more PJ Washingtons and Travis Hunters. Well, now I realize it even more. Even more so do I see it now than I did when I recorded and uploaded that. We're going to have to, whether we want to or not, we are going to have to reach these guys at around the same time. So when you are old enough to have a talk with some young cat about the birds and the bees, that is the age past which you should probably teach them about the GAMEs, or it's the same time. What I do know is that their biological knowledge of the birds and the bees should not go without the knowledge of the GAMEs that the she's will play on Jason, Jafar, John, Jeremiah. These are the things that need to be taught along with that at about the same time. Because you can't simply just tell these young cats, okay, this is how human mating and reproduction work, which you do need to tell them to protect them from diseases. But you have to tell them, okay, now you need to know that they're always trying to play games on you. And that while you hear that this is always something guys are doing with them, it is far worse what they are doing. And that when they throwing it at you, it is probably because they got some of these diseases from which you need to protect yourself, or they have an ulterior motive, because it ain't going to be but a few guys they just want to smash like that. And even then, they probably don't throw themselves at them. So you got to know. And when you tell these guys at a young age, listen, it is your job to make the first move and then to offer things, then to try to convince her to let you pay her bills and take care of her for the rest of her life, while she talks about how strong and independent it is. It is your job to not only do all of these things while she talks like you don't do it, but to approach her and try to convince her to accept this deal from you. You got to chase and pursue her. When you tell these guys at a young age, that's what they expect. And they play the games that they play so that you will think that all of that is normal. Not half of that, but that all of it is normal, and that all of it is necessary, and that all of it is a baseline, a bare minimum. Then this way, they've got the perfect retirement set up. Income without labor. And your pension without them having to work and save up. You take care of them. That's what the point is. When you start to tell these young cats that, they'll look at the whole thing and say, nah. Now, we're lucky that guys in the 20s and in the 30s are saying, we're not approaching, we're not going to these singles events anymore. We're not looking, we're not trying, because we see it's a bad deal. We are lucky. When we find that this is what they're doing, then we're lucky. Because who the hell sat down and explained this to them the way that it should be explained? They still wised the fuck. And some people are going to say, well, they're also producing far less testosterone. Well, that must have been a good thing because what they did is more logical. Testosterone does not have to dull your logic, but we allow it to. We even sometimes demand that it does. And as a matter of fact, we make the associations, and that's one of the things that women teach us. They don't teach you that heterosexuality can dull your wits, that this can happen with both genders. They teach you that because you're a guy, you're not going to be thinking clearly when you got to decide regarding women. The real truth is when you're a guy, you're probably going to be thinking less clearly because it's an emergency type situation, because you were already told, listen, you're only going to get a few choices. You got to grab them while you can. If you're told that, well, then goddamn, the women get to just decide which few choices they'll offer you, and it'll always be the worst ones for you and the best for them. And then when some of them show you some sort of interest or attention, you're thinking sort of like an emergency. Okay, I got to be quick and I got to capitalize. And then you wind up like Travis or PJ. Because no, the options are not that plenty. But instead of people being honest with you and telling you they're not going to be that many options while you're young, and that's not your fault. Instead, they start talking about this guy's a player and that guy's a player, and you need to be like him. Maybe you can learn from him. And then you sit up here trying to compete with other accomplishments that other cats might not even have. And then you're trying, and that causes you to overcapitalize on a few opportunities, and the women can see that. As I've stated, they've made their minds up. They will not, in the West, offer deals that are fair to you, let alone good for you. That's all you're seeing. Nothing else. And so when you come across this, I want you guys to know what it is and to know that we got to let these cats know young. I know I said it before, but I'm telling you now, I'm even more aware of how important it is than I was when I first said it. See, when I thought about it and I realized, you know what, dang, I had help, but because of what was still missing, I made the wrong choice because frankly, there was no right choice to make, except the one that I thought was not right. And that's the mistake. You see, as I've stated before, no one said to me, hey, yo, Jet, it ain't your fault. No one told me that. No one told any of the guys, hey, it ain't your fault. That's what guys never heard coming up. Meanwhile, women whose fault it was when they were perpetually single were being told it ain't your fault. Now we got it upside down. And these 20 and 30-year-olds are able to figure this out while we're not. It is important to let them know how bad it's going to be and then to tell them it ain't your fault. They're not playing games on you or trying to play games on you because there's something bad about you or something wrong with you. They're not they're not always trying to offer you a bad deal and get too much in exchange for nothing because there's something wrong with you. You don't look like a sucker. You don't look like a mark to them because of anything wrong with you. They are looking at most guys like this. Look, you're going to see some guys and all the girls want them and they're not even trying to mistreat them. That ain't your fault. Don't blame yourself. They're strong and independent and they're accountable and they make their own choices. And those choices are not your fault. That's what they need to hear. And most of us think that telling any young black male child that something is not their fault is going to turn them into a spoiled narcissist. Well, what about when it really isn't? I hope this helps. Thank you for listening. More to come after I finish the vacation. As always, black heart, black mind, black out, black heterosexual, non-select male power because they don't like it in a black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. Thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Air with a phrase. Jet Black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. And I invite you all to join the Jet Black Frequent Flyers Lounge at the link that's in the description, the Buy Me a Coffee link, and subscribe because I've got some new confessions and some new rhymes up there for y'all. And more to come. Gender justice forever.